Hello, you're listening to episode 284 of the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman. Well, hello and welcome to this episode of the Small and Supercharged podcast. Today, we're going to talk about rebranding because of Tate and Lyle recently rebranding. And I just thought the whole thing was really interesting, not just from the rebranding point of view, because I do like a bit of rebranding, but also from the reaction. Now, I don't know if you know this, but I hadn't really paid that much attention to the Tate and Lyle logo until I saw it all over the press. And what I was quite interested to find out is that the original Tate and Lyle logo, so Tate and Lyle are the, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, think golden syrup, think sugar, basically delicious things, is Tate and Lyle. It's the green and gold packaging that we see on the kind of cans of golden syrup. And now squeezy bottles. I feel like I'm on a press mission for Tate and Lyle, but I'm not. But basically, it used to be a dead lion with a swarm of bees over it, which I did not realise. I think it's got biblical connotations. Is that the right word? But I didn't realise that was it. I would have probably said lion, but then that might have been in my head. I've gone Lyle lion, but anyway. That's what it was. I didn't realise this, and I have to say, when I did twig, I thought, that's interesting. I can't think of any other logos that feature dead animals. I'm just trying to think, but I couldn't think of any. But whatever. A logo is a logo, and they usually have meaning beyond the obvious, and I think that's fair here. So what they've done now is they've rebranded with quite different, like a graphic lion. That's probably not the right word either, but a sort of stylized, I quite like it actually, graphic lion. And I thought that's quite nice, and moved on. So I like the fact they've kept the lion, they've, stayed true to their heritage. So they've actually kept the bee as well. If you look at their new logo, I've got them both on my computer screen now. Not that you can see that, but I have. They've got a little bee in the top right of the lion face. So I like the new logo. I think it's really nice. I didn't realise the logo before, but that's okay. Now, what's interesting is that people have seen the rebranding not as an update, not as just something that people do when they are updating their brand, but many people have seen it as some kind of attack on so much. I read something about the woke brigade have kind of struck again. I've read about how some people think it eradicates the kind of Christian messaging from the brand, as the dead lion with the bees was linked to a Bible story. Oh gosh, I just really wanted to talk about this, because sometimes rebrands are just rebrands. Now, obviously, I'm not connected to Tate and Lyle at all. I'm not going to pretend I am. I'm definitely not. But I pay a lot of attention to this kind of stuff, and I am always really intrigued by the response people get. Now, I read something about, it's another win for the woke brigade because of this, and this. Is it, or is it just an update? Think about all the brands that have updated themselves, who have tweaked a logo, who have changed things. Does everybody get accused of this, or what is it? And I think the thing is that rebranding is hard. When you're looking to rebrand, I've been tweaking and playing with my colours for my brand. That's been hard. That's been really hard. Thank God for Emily Cole, that's all I can say, and her brilliant vision around colours. That's been hard. You second guess yourself, you doubt yourself. If you are changing the name of your brand, if you're changing the typography, if you're changing the fonts, if you're making a new logo, all those things are actually really hard, because there's no right or wrong answer. It's not like you can go, right, it's not as clean cut as it's either right or wrong. It's not. All design or graphic design is basically down to personal opinion. There's obviously principles that people apply to make good design and bad design. But if somebody presented me with a lilac logo, I'd never like it. I don't really like lilac. It wouldn't be a colour that I'd want to have associated with my brand, and I wouldn't like it. That doesn't mean it's wrong. That doesn't mean that lilac is a bad colour. It doesn't mean that some people would adore it. It's all down to how we perceive these things. And I think that that's exactly the same for any rebrand. Generally, when people rebrand, when brands rebrand, I have to brand a lot, what they're doing is they're updating their image to reflect their current audience, their current direction, what they do, the kind of feeling of the time. Or, with things like fonts, there are fonts that go in and out of fashion. And some perhaps that go dramatically out of fashion rather than ones that go massively in fashion, because, if you do something that's just in fashion, then the chances are it won't take very long before it's out of fashion. So you want those kind of timeless fonts, but some of the fonts that people pick for their brand, when they pick them, age badly. Maybe they don't use their daily moisturizer, but some do age quite badly. Some age much better. And therefore they're just updating that image to reflect that they are a modern company, that they're not a kind of old-fashioned, in all the negative ways, company. There are lots of reasons to rebrand, but it's hard. It's not a quick process. And I think that when we see a rebrand, even if we hate it, we do have to think, I'm thinking of other rebrands that I've not liked recently, well, over the last few years. Whether you like it or not is one discussion. Whether you actively attack somebody for it is quite another. It's all down to personal preference. I'm thinking of some rebrands I've seen over the last few years that I've either thought were a complete waste of money, I didn't get at all, felt completely different to the original brand and didn't feel like a progression. They felt completely different, but maybe that was the point. But that's my opinion. It doesn't mean I'm right or wrong. That is my opinion. And what you'll find is that for as many people as that don't like it, as many people do. So that's really what I wanted to come on and say today, that when any brand rebrands, it's really hard. It's hard to make sure you are satisfying people, because whilst when you create a new brand, some people might hate that new iteration of what you've done, the chances are some people didn't like it before either. You literally cannot win. You can't win at all. But what you have to do when you're considering a rebrand is think about why you're doing it. That's the key, because it is expensive. It takes a lot of time, a lot of brain power to come up with a good rebrand that sort of ticks all the boxes. So why are you doing it? Are you doing it because you're a bit bored of your current logo or your current branding or your current font? Or are you doing it because it's outdated and you feel that reflects on your brand and makes you look outdated? Are you doing it because your audience is different and actually you need to update your logo, update your branding so it will resonate with your new audience more? Are you doing it because you've had a change of direction and you want to show that in what you're doing? Or maybe you've had a change of name because perhaps you named yourself something, and maybe it could be that you used to have a partner in your business and that partner is no longer part of the business. Maybe you realise that although you can use your brand name, it's very close to someone else, or maybe someone else has created a brand themselves which is now very close to you, and you want to make sure there's a really, really good point of difference there so you don't get the two confused, or people don't get the two confused. So if you have a firm reason for why you're rebranding, then that will help to lead you more into those key things you need to think about. So if it's that you feel like your brand is outdated, what elements of it are outdated and which ones can you improve? You can also look to do customer research in speaking to people, but also looking at the other brands that people are loving at the moment and try and sort of find the strands of DNA that run through them that you can start to think about utilising for your own brand. Not to copy them. No, please don't copy them. But if there are things that you notice, perhaps an increase in a particular type of typography, maybe a specific style of logo or a shape of logo, that can be really useful. You also want to think about how you're going to use your new branding. And that can dictate a lot, such as the shape, the colours, things like that. But there's a lot that goes into a rebrand. So when you're thinking of rebranding, put the time in to think about it. Work with people who are experts in it if you can afford them. If not, you can do a huge amount of reading and research online. But if you are a consumer and you are looking at someone that's done a rebrand, you might hate it. That's fine, you're allowed to hate it. But before we launch public attacks on people online, I think we need to think hard about it being our opinion and our own personal preferences, and also how hard rebrands are and the reason that people do them. Let's not always jump to, oh, it's about this, it's about this, it's about this. It might not be. It might just be simply that they're updating it to reflect where they are now. It could be as simple as that. Hopefully that's given you some food for thought. Do go and have a look at the Tate and Lyle story. It's all over the internet. You can see the pre and post rebranding logo. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. I really like the new one. Let's put it out there. I think it's nice. And yeah, I can't see why it's got so much attention. I mean, I know there's a saying that no publicity is bad publicity. I don't really agree with that. But I think for me, it's definitely brought Tate and Lyle to front of mind. And because I like the new logo and I understand how rebranding works, it certainly hasn't tainted or negatively impacted my view of them. But still, I don't think they should be under the criticism for it. I don't think it's okay to do that. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that episode. I hope it's given you some food for thought. If you want to ponder a little bit more about your brand and how to grow and develop it, I've got a really good book about that. The best-selling Small and Supercharged book. You can get it on Amazon if you just search Small and Supercharged. It's Small Steps to Supercharge Your Brand on a Budget. And it goes through loads of different ways to promote your brand for nothing or very, very little. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you've read it. And if you have read it, please do consider leaving a review. They genuinely do make me really happy. Well, the good ones do. And luckily, I've only had good ones so far, touch wood. I'm gripping onto a chair. But yeah, I'd love to know what you think about it. Thank you so much for listening. Have a brilliant week and we will catch up soon.